So why is she considered rude? And why is he seen as cool in the exact same situation? Hi, welcome! So in today's video, I wanted to talk about what boy groups can get away with that girl groups can't. And I know there are plenty of double standards in K-pop, but this video will focus more on these particular aspects. So if you'd like to see a part 2, let me know what other aspects you'd like me to cover next. And I need to point out immediately that I'm not bashing any of the male idols that I will be mentioning in this video. They're just being used as examples in ways in which society reacts to what they do compared to what female idols do. And I also think this is a much needed conversation, so let's get into it. But before we get into it, I'm going to stop you right there to remind you to subscribe to this channel and click that bell to be notified. You can also do little things here and there like commenting, sharing, liking, and following me on Amino and watching my stories. No, I still don't have any parrots, but once I acquire them, I will tell you. The first thing we're going to talk about is the resting face. We are going to refer to it as the RBF, otherwise I'm going to have to use Babe the Umbrella Cockatoo way too much. And I'm quite frankly really guilty of this. People will often think that I'm angry or rude when really I'm just deep in thought about Malak and cockatoos. That wasn't funny, I'll see myself out. The truth is, women don't need to justify why they aren't smiling. Since the beginning of time, I've seen female idols receive a lot of backlash for this, notably Crystal from FX and now Jennie from BLACKPINK. But they're not the first ones, and they're not the only ones, and they will not be the last ones. When a female idol doesn't smile constantly 100% of the time, people think that they are rude or that they are just plain mean. They are painted as divas. And when we talk about these idols, we tend to associate the words cold, rude, and shady to them. However, when we see male idols do the same thing, they get praised and they're called handsome, and it's really not that big of a deal. And the words we associate with them tend to be cool and mysterious. Two examples off the top of my head are V and Jimin from BTS. Can you tell I'm not a boy group stan? Most of these examples will either be second-gen boy groups or BTS. I'm sorry, there's no in between. And I've noticed this a lot with V, especially him having this RBF, and no one ever saying anything mean about it. No one ever alluding to the fact that he might be rude or that he might be mean. Instead, he's so handsome and people want him to run them over with their car, and I don't understand. And the thing is, this might be something that you subconsciously think, and that's okay, but it's important to acknowledge why you feel that way. So I'll leave some studies down below in the description box if you're interested in learning more about this. And this is because as a society, we just expect a lot more from women than we do from men. And I hate to make things very binary like that. And I do 100% recognize gender as a spectrum. But regardless of how some of us feel, or a lot of us feel, there are still these gender norms, these societal and cultural expectations put onto us based on the way that we're born. And the thing is, even the way that we're born is somehow binary, yet we often exclude intersex people. But that's the thing, we cannot ignore the huge impact that these societal and cultural expectations have on people. Let's say I'm your boss and I tell you that your job is subpar and you need to do it better. You are going to think that I'm a bitch, and you might think that you have your sexism in check. Sometimes these are things you don't even notice, but you might think I'm a bitch. But if a man tells you that your job is subpar and you need to do it better, then he's just being honest. And these are things that a lot of us can tie into our own lives. Being seen as bitchy for something that your male coworker would be seen as innovative for. It's the same action, but the reaction from people is different. People think Jennie is a bitch when she does the exact same facial expressions that V would make. So why is she considered rude? And why is he seen as cool in the exact same situation? But I do have to say, I'm really happy to see that more and more people are reclaiming the meaning of the RBF and turning it into something so much more positive. The second thing we're going to talk about is sexy dancing. For a long time, K-pop has been very hypocritical. They have been demanding sexy concepts from girl groups while bashing them in the same breath. And now maybe this is more of a second gen issue, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist today, but I am saying that we've seen a much more modest approach to K-pop in recent times. So though it does still exist today, it's not as prevalent as it was in second gen. For example, if a male idol ripped his shirt off, then Oppa was just being sexy. I'm sorry, Koreabuism was also really prevalent back in the day. Example number 1. They would obviously get praised for it. But you can imagine if a female idol did the same thing. Not even. If a female idol did something even more tame than that. Not even. If a female idol just wears shorts, then some creeps on the internet take issue with it. Or they'd get banned from KBS. So Hyuna is a perfect example of this. She had her song Bubble Pop banned because this part was too sexually suggestive. And then Rainbow came out with a song called A, super iconic song. However, it was too sexually suggestive because they lifted their shirts ever so slightly and KBS was not having it. Here's the part of the song that offended them so much. And here's some examples of some K-pop boy group choreographies from that same year that were acceptable. So an idol like Hyuna was silenced for wanting to express herself, while male artists have very few limitations in the industry. And this is something that Ijun from MBLAQ actually has touched on in the past. He himself called out the double standards in K-pop because he was known for his abs. He was known for taking his shirt off. And he knew he was getting praised for something that someone else was getting bashed for. The third thing we're going to talk about is earned success. I mean, of course, there are some people who think that boy groups don't deserve the fame that they have. But you don't tend to see people accusing boy groups of doing quote-unquote favors to get where they are today. You don't see people accusing boy groups of sleeping with someone to get where they are, because they got there supposedly on talent alone. So insert boy group was talented, hence their fame was deserved, but BLACKPINK was pretty, hence that's the only reason they're famous. And that's really just the tame version of things. A girl group cannot just be successful on their own, successful for their talents. They must have done something extra to get where they are. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is the idea of nudity. So we did touch on kind of nudity, like showing skin, but this is the idea of nudity, and it has to do with Sully. She really inspired this point. I considered whether or not it would be, acceptable to really bring this up in a video. But you know what? She knew the backlash that she was going to get by uploading photos of her without a bra. And she did it anyways because she wanted to send a message. And I think it's so important for us to continue the conversations that meant a lot to her. So yeah, let's talk about this. Male idols can wear like a button-down shirt with nothing underneath and show their nipples. Or anytime there's like the slightest bit of skin showing, a piece of thigh, an armpit, I don't know. You guys go crazy over that. Second gen stans can't relate because our idols basically were afraid of shirts. But if a female idol does the same, then she's bashed and she's either sexualized or demonized. If someone chooses not to wear a bra, it's actually none of your business. I said this in the other video, I'm saying it again. And that's what Sully advocated for. Autonomy over your own body. And not everyone was receptive to that. That's why I think it's so important to continue these conversations and to not stop talking about it. I can't make this video without bringing YG into this, without bringing 21 into this. This is another disgusting example. I don't have a title for this. I just thought of this right now. When Bom had her scandal, YG threw her to the dogs, hid her for 2 years, and then made her disband from 21. When the man of whom we will not speak on this channel had his scandal, YG gave that son of a bitch a perfect platform to resign from Big Bang with dignity. So one scandal, which shouldn't ever have been a scandal, was treated so differently. And it was just disgusting to see the dichotomy between how he was treated and how Bom was treated for her scandal. And the types of scandals they had. We have to admit that one scandal was, a bit worse than the other. And Bom still can't escape it. She's still trashed for it all the time. People are still referring to her as a drug smuggler. And yet we still see an alarming amount of people still supporting that man. Anyways, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to suggest some topics for part 2 if you guys are interested in that. I think there's so much more to talk about, but I'm conveniently going to end this video at the 10-minute mark. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell to be notified.